Yeah. Now with everything with AI going on, everything is adjusting rapidly.
Yeah.
So happy you're able to come on. And for anyone that sees the cool picture, that was something done by Sherman here.
Yes, indeed. It was one of
So
my paintings from college. So
yeah. Yeah, could you like walk us through like the painting?
sure. Um, so I made this painting as a part of a series of works. There was about five or six of them. And at the time, this image came to my mind fully formed. And it actually it actually was kind of relevant to how I felt at the time. There's a bit of confusion there with that with the house on fire on the head, a little bit of feelings of maybe overthought and all that stuff was going through school, and um, I thought it was a perfect piece to kind of express those feelings. And of course, the flowers represent hope, and there's even a little bit of spirituality in there with the
Yeah.
little
What about the
little guy.
people on the boat?
Yeah, they're little spiritual people on the boat. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I was honored that you allowed me to hang it up and allow people to see. So hopefully one day we'll look back on the podcast and be like, yo, I had Sherman on.
Yeah, that was a breakthrough for me. That painting really was, because it was the first painting that I had planned and completed, and felt like I had a pretty good thing in college. All those years of graphic design and kind of dual majoring, trying to figure things out. That painting really felt good to complete. So,
How long did this painting take you?
oh geez, I can't remember. I think at the time, because of the process that I put into place, I had done some pre-work, like some photography,
Hmm.
and I did some color studies and things like that. It definitely took some time and some patience. I think it was like maybe like 3 weeks, maybe a month, something like that. I think my professor at one point was like, "Okay, it's time to move on. Like you've done a good job on this."
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it's I can't remember what it was, but I think there was like some sort of study where they had like one group of students in like a photography class could only take 10 pictures and then the other group could take like unlimited amount of pictures. And it's obvious like there's artists like Salvador Dali who has like I don't even know how many paintings that dude did. But just
yeah,
like as an artist, like the more you do, the more chances you have of being able to share your art with the world. At the same time, though, as a creative person, it's always you'd be like, well, this could be a little better,
yeah,
this, is it really done? Like
yeah.
how do you determine when you're like, you know what, this one's done?
I think you just have to find a certain part of the image that you know the viewer can draw their eyes to and say, okay, this is complete, because you're correct. There's always something in an image that you feel like you can continue to work on. So for me, it was the flame at the top, the fire at the top of this character's head on the house. Um, I felt like if viewers could see that from a distance, um, you can some of the other details can look. You have lots of creative possibilities at that point.
Yeah, because I mean, you could create a piece of art, but it could mean like something different to every person that looks at it.
That's true, and a lot, the subject matter for that particular show was pretty metaphorical.
Hmm.
So it allows for interpretation a little bit. But when I explained things, it was sort of this narrative story that sort of carried out through from one painting to the next. It kind of weaved things together and cleared things up. But I would say that painting is pretty clear what the general message is, with obviously the house representing like a comfort zone, and sort of it being on fire representing this sort of your comfort zone kind of being eaten away at a little bit. It's pretty clear, but in the larger body of work, it definitely needed to be explained at that time. I was a younger artist, and it was it confused people a little bit, but um ended up being my most successful painting.
Well, I'm honored to have it on my wall.
Well,
And
thank you
if
for having it on
and,
the wall.
and if anyone wants it, it is available. So you can feel free to take it off my hands. Be happy to do that for Sherman. And I mean, you say confusion, but I mean, it sounds like, the idea of a piece of art is to get people to ask like questions, like, "Oh, what do you think this means? What do you think that means?" Versus like, what was that piece of art that was just like a banana? What was
Yeah,
the banana
yeah.
art? I don't even know what that was about.
Well, there's different types of art. Mine is, like I said, it's more narrative driven. So it tells a story. That kind of art is more conceptual in the sense of you're trying to get people to think more about like art history and the context, and there's like money involved in it. And my work isn't really about all that. It's really inspired by sort of animation and like books and things that sort of tell a direct story. So each image tells its own story, but there's definitely different kinds of art for sure. I'm not a fan of all of it, but I think all of it has its uses, its place.
Right. Yeah. I'm let's see. I want to pull up some of your work and we can look at it together.
That sounds
I
good.
think I think that'd be cool. Let's see.
You should go to the illustration 2024 one.
Yeah, let's see.
That's where some of the best work is.
I'm on your Instagram. Would that work?
Yeah, you could also, there's also should be a link to my website up above.
Let's see. There we go. Let's just pull it up. You said illustration?
Yeah, you can go to the illustration section and then at the left over there, I think shows some of my best work.
Which one?
Right. Top left where it says hi.
Oh, I'm not seeing it. Where is it? Oh, there we go. So this one?
Yeah, I think these images are some of my, favorites, and I have others that I haven't put on the website, but um, some of these were selected to be on there, and I feel like they display different things that I enjoy about art making. So
Now, with the painting that we showed earlier compared to this one, could you like walk us through how you've evolved and improved as an artist to get to this point here?
yeah, I think for a while I made very kind of grim work, this angsty. That's just how I felt in college, just very angsty kind of a guy. And as things progressed, I started to feel like things were kind of going well in life, and I wanted something that reflected that. I talk about spirituality in my work, even that other painting that you have hanging up on the wall, and so I created a piece that sort of talks about that here, where there's a little spiritual, it has wings. It's up for interpretation what it is, but some people might call it a little angel or a cherub saying hello to a figure who's taking a bath and trying to recover.
Yeah, I noticed that. Is that a tear?
Yeah, those are tears. It's an introspective moment with this character.
And then you have like these plants over here. I thought they were bees for a second, but I see they're like attached to the plant.
Yeah, they are bees. They're moving around the
Oh, there
plant.
are bees. Okay.
Yeah, it adds a naturalistic component to it, a little bit of movement. I feel like the bees also represent like freedom, flow. There's a lot of circular structure in the works that I make. You probably see it here in this image, and you'll see it in other images that I make as well. Sometimes the images that I make are more about how I felt than any direct meaning per se. I think this one, I think, has a combination of those things where there's something metaphorical about it, but also it expresses something about spirituality.
Yeah, it's really cool. Now, is this what kind of work is this? Is this like
So I started with line work and then scanned it in and completed it digitally.
got it? So it starts freehand, and then how do you use digitization to get the final work completed?
Oh yeah, I just do everything in Photoshop. And so
Like Adobe?
yes,
Okay, cool.
yeah. So
Yeah, like
pretty
notice this like little mirror over here. Is this like a mirror or a window on the
yeah,
left-hand side?
it's supposed to represent like a doorway to let light in. This where this figure came from.
Yeah, that's really good. Now, what are you working on now in terms of your work and like now everything that's going on with like AI? Have you been able to incorporate that into your repertoire?
Yeah, I've got some mixed feelings about AI. I definitely use it. And at first it kind of worried me, but um I definitely use it to get inspired, to get ideas and things like that. How things will shake out, I'm not really sure with the arts and AI and all that stuff. I don't, I'm not really sure, but I do enjoy drawing and painting and things like that. And so, it's one of those things where, regardless of what I'm doing, whether I got a full time or I'm doing it part time, I'm going to continue to do it. Um, and that's kind of how I feel about artificial intelligence and the image making process and everything else. I think people will always be interested in drawing and painting for themselves. But as far as monetizing that, I'm honestly not sure how that's going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, like anything. I mean, I'm sure there's been times in the arts where something new came up and there are purists out there who are like, we're never going to do it this way. And then sometimes as an artist, you take that new risk or you do that new thing and then it ultimately could lead to potentially success. And then, people are going to hate on it. It seems like people hate on anything that's like the new, the new stuff or things that are like go against the grain, especially in something as like the arts where it's like very, you know, the way things are done.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the case. People don't like new. New always gets sort of a bad reputation, but I also think, you have to look at how things are structured now. I mean, no process is perfect, right?
Right.
Uh, we use all these computers and things, and they don't exactly have the best, you know, process to from point A to point Z, getting it here, in front of us. It's the same thing with AI. I mean, if people don't like how the information, these companies, they take the information from the internet or whatever, what have you, and use it to train their models and all that stuff. So,
Yeah. I mean, I've been using it a little bit. I am nowhere near the painter that you'll ever be, but I mean, it's pretty cool how you can like come up with these different prompts and then give it the inputs. And I look at it as like, hey, like depending on how you're wired from a creative point of view, in terms of being an artist, being able to feed those inputs into AI would be much different than the inputs someone who doesn't have your skills would be able to do, which I would see as like a benefit in using a AI. At the same time, that it almost feels like cheating because like you're not really you're giving it the inputs, but you're not actually like creating it. But you kind of are creating it because you're giving it the inputs. Just the inputs are words versus your inputs now are your brain, and then you take what's in your mind and put it on paper.
yeah, I think that's where the confliction comes in for me because on one hand, I think there are AI prompters who get excellent results from those machines.
Hmm.
and you wonder how they do it. You know, whether or not you can call it their work or not is up for interpretation. Every person is going to decide that for themselves. But they do get exceptional results from the machines. And then on the other hand, I miss the idea that, it used to require the technical skill of drawing or painting or sculpting, you know, as an individual or a team to get those outcomes. So it's um it's just one of those situations.
Yeah, you just gotta navigate it just like everyone else that's in your situation, you know. It's a new it's a new challenge to overcome, but as an artist, nothing comes easy.
You never got into it because you were going to make some kind of, uh exorbitant amount of money or something. You really have to enjoy it to keep up with it because it's not uh it's not something that's going to give you like a fast reward
Mm-mm.
for for gaining some level of skill or whatever. It's really got to be an enjoyable process for you. So
Yeah, I mean, it seems like as an artist, you could have that one piece where you really take off, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, this is it. I finally made it. And now like respected as an artist. And then what people don't realize is like how many works of art did you have to create that one piece that finally got recognized?
yeah, that's why you make a lot of work. I was talking to my professor about that. He was like, you just want to be somebody who has made a lot of it. Um, but you never know what piece of art or what person or what have you might see something that you made and really resonate with it. So
How does someone determine what's good art and like what's not good art? I feel like I look at some things and I'm just like, how is that considered like art?
I was talking to my cousin about that.
Like you look at some painting, I'm like, I could do that. I mean, I mean, looking at it, I could do it. I wouldn't come up with the idea. I guess that's where the art is. At the same time, you look at something, it's like, there's nothing impressive that I'm seeing. It's kind of like I don't get it. But I mean, I look at like other works like Salvador Dali or like Picasso, and I look at it, I was like, all right, I get it. But I think those artists were probably harshly criticized at some point.
yeah, I think when it comes to figuring out like what piece is universally considered good or not, I mean, you have to look at the discipline that you're under in terms of what you're trying to communicate, right? So there's, Western painters look for realism and they look to, tell stories that way. Eastern art is very like graphic and kind of shape oriented. So the the discipline that you're under might determine that. There might be a set of rules that you work under
Mm,
that determine whether or not what you're doing is good or not. Or, it might just be like a cultural thing. But I also think that um like doing something in the past, doing something that was different was good because it was creative.
hmm.
Whereas I think at this point, all of it has been done, so it's really just about what audience you can resonate with. Everybody has a different kind of taste for, whatever um whatever art is being made. So yeah.
Yeah, I could imagine if you get like a commission piece of art, how like if someone wants something specific, it could kind of take away like from the creativity. At the same time, though, as like an artist, like sometimes you're just especially in the beginning, like even for me in business, if someone was like willing to like pay for help, I was excited just to get anything. At the same time, though, sometimes doing that sort of work is like
Yeah.
I don't want to do this, but I have to do this in order to keep going.
Yeah.
How do you work through the boring work?
I think you have to find like for me is opportunities to be creative are found in the parameters themselves.
Hmm.
So when you feel like you're doing something that doesn't exactly align with your creativity normally, you can see it as a challenge that you can sort of grow from.
Mm,
Uh, so when I make my images for different clients and different people like that, I always look at the parameter as a strength. Um, it actually opens up creative possibilities just because you have something to start with. Whereas if you have nothing to start with, it just sort of feels like um, you can go any direction and there's no answer. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see how that could be. It's about finding like the positive in every sort of situation. It's like, all right, this isn't really creative. However, maybe you're gonna like practice something that you haven't practiced in a while, something like simple, like going back to the basics. And that's anything. Sometimes when you get to a certain level, doing a simple piece and remembering the basics could be beneficial for just like refining those skills, like a piano player who just does their, easy scales every day, just getting the motion. Or if you're play golf or play a sport, you do all your stretching, you do your same routine over and over again, doing the boring work in order to do the great work.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that too. You know, I think routine is important. Doing things simply is important. When I had somebody that I was working with tell me that, the work was nice, but my work can get overly complex
Hmm.
with all of the things that I put in the imagery. And sometimes a simple solution is better and the better answer for um, the problem you're trying to solve. So I agree with your assessment.
Yeah, sometimes simple, just don't overthink it, which I can imagine a lot of people have trouble with overthinking. As an artist, your job is to think. Think about
Yes.
what you want to do. Think what you want the end result to be. Think how could you make this piece better? How could you make improvements? Did you need to add more? Do you need to take something away? Do you need to just throw the painting away and start over? I can imagine like those are all the thoughts that go through your head at times. It's like, oh, let me just scratch it and start from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you talk about overthinking as a strength and a weakness for somebody that likes to do, some anything creative. I mean, and basically, when you look at it, everything has a creative part to it. But for, the arts and making sculptures and paintings and things like that, um, having a lot of thoughts is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's just the other parts of life where it's just not so good. So, um, and then finding it's a creative process.
Excuse you.
Excuse me. It's a creative process. So having lots of different potential outcomes is what you're looking for.
Hmm.
And so um, overthought for the arts is really a good thing. But yeah, like I said, it doesn't work out that way in other parts of life.
For sure. Now, for the future, what's next for Sherman? Do you have a vision?
It's one day at a time right now. So for me, I have a project that I'm working on for the CAC, the
What's
Cincinnati, the
Cincinnati?
Contemporary Arts Center.
Okay.
Um, uh, I'm making three paintings with a younger artist, and we're working together to, gain skills, and it should be a good showcase, and we'll see how it goes. And other than that, it's just you know, uh, gaining some skills and working on a little side project with somebody I've been working with since I graduated school. Um, it's a project about racial categories, and we're just going to continue to chip away at that on the side. And that's where we're at right now. I would love to do graphic design work and things like that. So I've been doing that a little bit, but just right now keeping it simple.
Keep it simple and just keep making as many paintings as possible, and then it seems like eventually it all just works out.
Or it won't. My whole mindset is if the art doesn't work the way that I want for it to, we have to pivot and find another answer, another solution. But I'm always going to be making art in some way, and I think right now that helps me to keep going. So
Totally. Just gotta keep going, keep doing it, and whatever comes your way, just deal with the challenges as they come, one day at a time. So we'll see everyone next time. Bye.